that are currently incubated at the Talal and Madiha Zein AUB iPark, as well as the larger AUB community from mentors, students, alumni, faculty, and staff that are interested in tech entrepreneurship and here with us. So the format will be a simple one, 40 minutes discussion with questions that were crowdsourced from the audience, and then it will be followed by a 20 minutes Q&A. Yes.
Oh, thank you for having me and thank you for the opportunity.
So the first thing that attendees wanted to know is to understand about the genesis of the idea. So if you take a flashback to 2011, 2012, how was the idea of Anghami born when piracy was widespread and online payment inexistent in the region? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, interesting enough. I mean, those ideas exactly were the core of why we wanted to do Anghami and one of the biggest driver into people, I mean, or investors not wanting to, invest in Anghami at the same time. For us, it goes back to a discussion during a ski trip between me and Eddie. That's the story. Eddie is currently my partner in Anghami. We currently have been working together for over 21 years. So previously in my previous company, we were working together, and we just happened to be bored, and the trying to discuss what we wanted to do next because I had stayed in the same company that I had co-founded also for like about 6 years maybe, and it was like I was getting itchy because I wanted a new challenge, something interesting. And Eddie was talking about his sorry, iPod, how it was complicated to copy the music, and because he needed to go to piracy stuff, to piracy servers to download music and then sync it on the iPod. I don't know whether people are familiar with that process in the room, but it was quite the process. So we started talking about it, and one thing led to another. That we wanted to scratch our itch. We wanted to get something that made sense for us. Remember, we were like, I mean, early 30s. I mean, both of us, plus or minus 2 years. Eddie is younger than me by roughly 2 years. And we did not have a problem of spending, of paying for a service, but the service did not exist. We could not pay for iTunes to allow us to buy music. It did not exist. So clearly, between, I'm sorry, clearly between Eddie, who's very much into music, has label connections, and me, who's like the tech person who like to create products, it just added up. I mean, it just added up. An idea for us that meant to, as I said, scratch an itch, something that was not supposed to be that big, something that we expected maybe would reach 300,000 users the first year when we planned it, ended up reaching 1 million in the 3 months. Why? It was because we spent time to understand what we were building. Originally, we wanted to build something for the web because it was 2011. Everybody was building web stuff. So we weren't doubting, that we wanted to build web. Our original pitch deck of Anghami was all around web. It did not mention mobile. But during that year, we just happened to have the iPhone 3GS and the apps were released. So basically, the mobile opportunity started to become quite interesting. We knew that the total addressable market was small, but the potential was big. So we pivoted before launching from doing a web service to deciding to launch on mobile. Why? Because we thought that we can generate revenue out of mobile. We can, because we were building originally an idea that we knew if we did not have a way to monetize it would not live. Clearly, we can say that because we had built previous businesses before, we knew that the business side was as important, if not more, from the technical side. So when we eventually, decided to start Anghami, we did not go build a product. I said, I'm going to be able to build it. I'll figure out how I'm going to do it. But we spent time to talk to labels to create a business model that would work with us and the labels. And we spent time with mobile operators to figure out if our business model would work with the telecom operators, because we realized at the time that we weren't able to scale by credit card, that the only way to scale would be by mobile. So that was quite essential. I mean, we could not have guessed that. We simply used our experience from the previous company. So previous company we did was around SMS and MMS and integration with telcos. We knew that telcos had problems with value-added services and needed to create new ones. So we just connected the dot between the mobile that was launching, the opportunity of the music that we felt was missed, and between the telcos that needed something new. It it, it sounds easy right now in hindsight because it's obvious, but at the time it was not that obvious. But we those were the early days whereby we came up with something that not just made sense for us, but made sense for the music industry in the Middle East and made sense for the telecom operators and allows us actually to build something that would be sustainable, because we started generating revenue from the first day that we launched. And actually, to be honest, even before, because we launched a private beta with a telco in Jordan that was paying us, and then we launched the public one roughly 45 days later. So we started generating revenue even before we went, public. Public as in open up.
Amazing. I like also when you tell the story, you also distill directly the conclusions and the lessons learned for startups and how to think about the first days. So in less than a year, you were able to get your first million invested by MEVP, and then also within the first 4 years, you have raised around 24 million from VCs and corporate VCs. So what do you attribute your success in raising these funds in this time where it was not as available as today?
Honestly, when we started, we did not know what is a VC, right? I mean, we did not know what is that term and what do those people do, because when we started Anghami, we put money from me and Eddie, from money well earned from a previous job. We put it into Anghami, and then we took a loan, which sounds very weird now for any startup. I mean, I'm not aware of startups that take a loan to launch, but that just makes more sense, because a VC money is just loan with a way higher interest on return, right? And board seat and future commitment to anything. So at that time we started by that, and then we realized that we needed more money, not because the product needed money, not because the marketing needed money, because we were fine with these. The product could we building it ourselves. I mean, we hired a few engineers, but nothing much. The marketing, we did not intend to do marketing at all at the beginning, because we wanted it to, be validated, have product market fit. But the deals with the labels were simple. We could not get the labels on board unless we actually prepay them, put money originally on the table. So we needed money on that. So we started, figuring out, I went on LinkedIn, started to figure out who has money on who would invest, and anybody who would sound like investing. And then I started reading about like some VCs starting in the region. So at the time, VCs were in VC 1.0 or maybe 0.1. They were just starting. They did not know much about, the business, but they were, clearly inspired by VCs from the Western world. And we were actually also trying to understand who they are. So I bought a book called How to Be Smarter Than Your Venture Capitalist. That book is still one of the best books to understand how to deal with VC. It's a different edition than what I bought, but it's still the same. And we started to understand how to deal with VCs and what to do and what not to do. And it took a while, honestly. I mean, it wasn't the first VC. I think we contacted maybe roughly 20 people before landing on our first VC that would actually listen to us, be interested, and understand that we're building something that makes sense. Yes,
Beautiful.
correct, Wael. That's it. That's the book that somebody Wael put in the chat. That's it. So we did then raise the first million, and when we raised it, we had almost started launching, and we got to a million user after those 3 months. So the VC wanted to put more money. And for us, it was like, cool. I mean, you want to give us more money. Then we started to understand what does the more money mean? I mean, more equity, more share of the company. But again, we had no choice because we needed to grow fast, and we needed the money. And with time, what allowed us to raise more money, I mean, Anghami did not raise a lot, right? I mean, we raised before now, I mean, we've raised 26 million, which comparatively to startups right now that are launching, probably they raised that by the Series A. But for us, we really wanted not to raise much money. I mean, I would prefer to raise money from my users, not from the VC, because I had to, give back that money for the VC multiple times over. That's why Anghami never made an announcement over all the rounds that we raised. We never said, I mean, right now I read about startup raising money and putting, they've raised X millions and stuff. We never did that. For me, it didn't make sense. I mean, it's like someone taking a loan from a bank and advertising that I just took a loan. I took a loan, and I mean, you're not going to open champagne because you took a loan. I'm going to open champagne when I get a million users paying me, not $1 million from a VC. But clearly, what allowed us to get more money from VCs were simply our traction. We're getting user traction. We're getting revenue traction from users, but also from advertisers. And we were getting more VCs interested to put money. So it became simple because we were actually getting results. So the more we're getting results, everything sounds great. Everybody wants to work with you, right? I mean, that's the formula. Just grow what matters to you, define what success means, and work across those, key metrics. For us, it meant more active users, more users playing music, and more revenue generated. And since those were going up and to the right, everybody wanted to put more money and invest with us.
So focusing on the key metrics, what matters, and not playing the game of whistles and some startups.
I mean, hustle works. I mean, still works for some, right? But it's a tiring exercise. It's a tiring exercise to have to wear a mask, right? And to have to play the whatever, right? I mean, at the end, you're gonna have to send your quarterly results to your investors. So regardless of however the leader of the first of PR you put out, your metrics are going to be what you're going to be judged on, and they're going to be a guarantee of whether more VCs want to work with you or not. So what's clear for me is like one lesson that I am very important for me is, don't take yourself too seriously, and control your ego, regardless of whether I've done my first round, my second round, or having an IPO right now. I leave the ego just out of the company. I mean, I have no ego. I mean, I am the same thing like any other employee in the company. I mean, I head the company, but that does not mean that the team works for me. I work for the team. My job is to facilitate the work of the team so they actually produce better outcomes. It's like the company's outcome is not on me. I mean, I have to, you as a founder, you have to teach your team, delegate your team, measure your team, inspire and challenge them to do better. So the end result is the team's end result. It just happened to be at the seat, driving seat.
And shortly after the announcement of the Nasdaq listing, you published an amazing Twitter thread on the roller coaster journey, your advice also to entrepreneurs. And I recommend everyone interested in entrepreneurship to read it. And among the things among the things you mentioned, it was mind-boggling, I'm quoting, mind-boggling stories about time where you were close to sinking. Can you tell us more about that and the more acute challenges you faced?
I mean, it's a roller coaster, right? I mean, it's easy when people think about, look at companies and they think they're successful and everything. It's simply, yeah, probably it's overnight success after, 10,000 overnights and a lot of sweat and tears. So it's always that. I mean, I'm not aware of anybody who succeeded without problems. And I still don't measure myself as success. Success is temporal. I mean, we're starting chapter 2 and we have very big ambitions. And to get to those ambitions will require way more work than what we've done in the past. So that's that we're taking the lessons, and the lessons are all a result of failures that we've done. So we start by building. While building, we learn, but we fail in many cases, but we do better, so that the next building is always better. In terms of failing, honestly, there's a lot. And there's a lot of mind-boggling things whereby, for instance, we were close to signing a deal to sell the company more than once. I don't remember, maybe 3 or 4 times. We were very close to a deal. And I'm so grateful that we didn't do that. I'm very grateful. It's clearly, as an entrepreneur, when you take VC money, you know that at one point in time you'd have to exit. You'd have to sell the company. It's simple. You sign the deal with the VC, and as part of the shareholder agreement, the VC can drag you. So we just happened to had weird things in everyone. I mean, so weirder than the other. Some stuff that probably can't disclose right now, but again, very weird things. And sometimes we just walked away because I did not believe that I was doing the best thing for the interest of my team, not my interest per se, but the interest of the team. And then when we were doing the last fundraising, and we were trying to, do I go with it or do not go with it, because it was COVID times. It was like weird, requirements from VCs because they were squeezing everyone. People, were like, it was bad times, and we started fundraising on 16 March, which happened to be when Europe closed down on COVID. It was like such a weird timing. And then I've learned, during that roadshow, and I've learned that there was an opportunity to do something else than fundraising via VC, which was the SPAC IPO that we ended up choosing. And I realized that it will meet many requirements. That was one, I would be able to raise a good amount of money. So we're going to be raising roughly 4 times more than when we ever raised before. We're going to be raising over 110 million, probably more maybe. And then the company is going to be independent, which means that the VCs would have ability to exit. Nobody is going to be forcing us to exit anymore, since an IPO is technically an exit. The company, the team, the management would still be able to pursue the goals, the dreams, and to grow the company. And that would, would be multiple things that we wanted, clearly at a price which is being public and being transparent. But that teaches discipline. And I think it's one of the best things that we've done on Anghami was discipline. Being disciplined enough to raise last time around in 2016, and now we're raising in mid 2021. That is 5 years with no official fundraise. That discipline is what created the company to know that you needed to focus on critical items to deliver. And all in all, I think it makes sense in hindsight, but at the times and during those critical moments whereby I was like worried whether I'm going to be able to, pay salaries at the end of the month, whereby we'll be able to, finish that particular feature and launch it at the right time, whether I'll be able to find a team or engineer, or find an engineer that would allow us to fix certain important problems that we needed to do. And all in all, we've had a lot of that. But I go back to the people. the people that made Anghami, the original builders who worked hard to Anghami, a lot of them are still with us. Some of them are not with us. But I'm still grateful to all of them. Uh, Building a product, a consumer product like Anghami in 2012, 11, 12 in Lebanon is was very hard. Was very hard because there was no particular talent that knows anything about mobile, that knows about scaling, that knows about marketing a product to a massive audience. So we had to actually, start with a bunch of people who had, had a good mind, but were not skilled, but had faith, believed, believed that we can do that. We can compete with the biggest companies in the world, whether it's Apple, whether it's YouTube, or Spotify, and others. And just a small team from Beirut would still be able to compete, and still be able to say many years later that we're leading the region in terms of growth and subscribers. And that's part of the upside after the lot of downside you asked about.
And how do you bridge this knowledge gap? Like you say, you have a team of very passionate people, very skilled, but with no experience. So you would have hard time to poach talent from competition who have worked in the same industry. How do you do it? Is it by reading books, by having mentors in the space? How did you succeed?
We did not poach anyone. We could not afford to poach anyone. That's the right answer. We did not because we could not afford. We did. We read books. Yeah, I mean, I read a lot of books. I honestly, books distill a lot of info on, what to do and how to do, but they don't give you code, right? They don't give you a marketing plan. They don't give you, structure of how to approach problems. You have to do it by yourself. And for me, the cycle is simple. You learn by building. That's why I call myself a builder, right? I mean, I like builder, not that word entrepreneur, whatever it is. I mean, builder is like building something from scratch, coming up with an idea and trying to build it the way you imagine it. To do that, you end up making a lot of mistakes, but that's why building by learning and failing. So we wanted first to start by building. We got a bunch of people who've done code, right? And we started building with them the backend of Anghami. Then we realized that there was too much baggage. Those people could not unlearn the old baggage that they knew from different companies who were doing something very similar to, not similar at all to Anghami, but again, still code, right? I mean, they were programmers, they were good programmers, but they had too much of a baggage. So that's why we realized that unlearning is the biggest problem of that century. So we said we're going to start with people who don't have unlearning to do, or on the other hand, will have only learning. We got most of the team, 90% of the team in Anghami started just fresh from university, fresh. And we just challenged them, and we just put small goals, and small goals, then another small goal, and another small goal. And then at the end of the year, you'd say, oh my God, I did all of that. But those were a bunch of small goals that end up adding, to a big product. So we were never afraid to fail, and we were never afraid to do something that doesn't work, that might be good but might not be optimal, might not be perfect, goes against everything that was we were taught at school. We were totally in anti-perfection. We were totally cool by doing something that would be maybe ashamed of, might have bugs, might have whatever, but would allow us to go out. Speed was critical. Going out and validating with the users, and then seeing what works and doing more of what works, seeing what doesn't work and removing it, and building on top of that. So we simply iterated with the people, teaching them skills as we go, and we iterated with the products. We had iterated with the partnerships. We iterated with our artists, with payment, and we've built platform after platform, because when someone looks at Anghami, it's not just a consumer play. It's not just an iOS app, Android app, web, PC, Mac, Apple Watch, Android Wear, Apple TV, Android TV, PlayStation, CarPlay, Android Auto, and I definitely did not mention all of. I mean, I did not say everything that we have. That's a lot of platforms, but we also built platforms for brands, for advertisers, for artists to upload content, to distribute, to be able to promote the content. We created a massive payment network with operators, which is 37 telcos connected right now, which has no comparison across the Arab world. We did all of that with less than 50 engineers. That's the simple word is discipline. Is discipline, and people who did well, we were empowering them more. People who could not cope, we simply get others. And I'm very thankful to a lot of that bunch of believers who trusted us. As I said, some of them are still with us, some of them are not with us anymore, but without them, we wouldn't have reached what we are today. Anghami did everything in-house. We did never had money to buy or whitelist or anything. We built everything in-house, and it's been a roller coaster, but I'm quite proud with everything that the team has achieved, and they're the heroes. I'm just a spokesperson.
This is great. In terms of as external people, when looking at the journey of Anghami, the most part where it was we felt was critical was when international competitors came into play, and we started seeing massive advertisement campaign. I remember many Deezer billboards, for example, across Beirut. They secured also exclusive deals with major labels in the region, etc. So beyond the product and the work on the product and the team, what can you tell us from the business side? How did you address strategically this challenge and was able to overcome it?
Yeah, clear. I mean, obviously at the time, when that happened, we knew about it. We realized that this was going to happen like a few months before it became public, and we knew that we had to be creative and figure out that one, what are we going to do against this? How are we going to be coping it? Because at the same time, the Deezer entered and Spotify entered. Deezer took Rotana out. So those were massive times, massive dark moments, whereby we needed to keep building, and we needed to try to build something that would differentiate us, and at the same time try to compensate from the loss that Deezer had done to us at the time. Those were moments that were quite hard, but those moments that defined us. What defines you is not that you had a problem, is how you cope with the problem and how you grow out of the problem. To summarize that simply, 2 years later, we grew. I mean, we grew by 80-90% after 2018, 2019, when those competitors came. So what's simple, what's clear, and what's obvious is that competition actually helped us. Not because, they wanted to help us, but because our state of mind became much more of an offensive rather than defensive. Because we realized that, we had to actually attack, we had to do better, we have to come up with ideas, and despite all of that, want to grow. So the biggest growth that Anghami achieved in its lifetime was in 2018, 2019, despite the competition. It's simply a testimony to what we worked and how we actually dealt with it. And at the end, we look right now, great. Competition is good, but we're not competing just with the competition. The competition, when they competed with Anghami, they took everything, they took a lot of stuff from us, from the pricing to the campaigns to partnerships even, and all of that. But for us, we realized that the biggest competition is with piracy, not with another streaming service. Fine. They're going to take a bit out of us. Even, anybody that's used to McDonald's, if a Burger King opens up next to you, you want to try it out, it's fine. But will you come back again and again and again? And how many people want to try something new? And how many people that have not tried any music service are still to be addressed? So for us, we really focused on the market that has not been penetrated more than the market that was kind of obvious and they were attacking us with. Uh, all in all, those were lessons that I look at them right now and I feel happy and proud. But yeah, there was dark times. I agree.
Amazing. And so now what's next with all the fundraising that would happen with Nasdaq? What would be the next milestone for Anghami?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the whole point. Is like for us, it's growth, right? We were raising money to grow and to grow beyond what we've done before. We're going to be spending money on going deeper in the Middle East because, as I said, it's not done yet. I mean, the penetration of legal music streaming services in the region is not so big that you can't grow anymore in the region. No, we think we can grow. We think there's a lot of opportunities, especially in certain key markets, that we will be digging and investing more in. We also will be growing on the diaspora. So Anghami right now is available worldwide for the Arabic music. We will be doing much more in terms of promoting that music outside the Middle East. And we'll be also providing international music to the Arab audience also outside the Middle East. So we'll be growing more on the diaspora side, and we'll be working more on new products, right? We're launching a product. I mean, we've been in the phase of launching it building it for the past maybe 9 months or slightly a bit more. I think, yeah, it's just slightly a bit more. Last February, so a year and something. We're launching a product called Live Radio, which we've been building. Live Radio is, funnily enough, what we originally had, the original idea of Anghami that was supposed to be launched in 2011. Just fast forward 2021, very different, but still the same. It's around rooms that people can create. It's available right now in Anghami. People can create something called the live radio, and then they would play music, and anybody who joined that room would be listening to the same music at the same time. And people will now be able, as of very soon, as of next week, they'll be able to pause the music, they'll be able to talk, simply talk, and continue the music, or maybe interview people within the room. The whole point is this is a radio. So basically, anyone will have the ability to create his own digital radio within Anghami to play the 57 million tracks available in Anghami, the podcast in Anghami. But then again, they can still use the mic and they can sing, they can talk, they can create their own radio channels, they can monetize those radio channels, they can make revenue out of that. And all of this goes towards us creating more, spending more time and the efforts on building creator tools to allow artists to come close to their fans, but allow music influencers to be born, music influencers who would actually give you new music, share new music, and talk about music that they love or they've been inspired by or they found or whatever, kind of like influencers of Instagram or whatever, but simply for music. And all of that, we've built it in-house, and we're very happy that we got into the original pitch deck, which at the time is a deck that shows rooms and people going into a Khaliji room or a jazz room or a pop room to listen to music together. Because the whole point for us was like music connects people to each other. Music right now with all the music services are kind of anti-social. You're supposed to put in your headphones and listen by yourself, whereby for us, music is supposed to be to get people closer to each other, to get people to meet other people who actually like the same type of music or are closer to the type of music that you're enjoying. So with the live radio, you don't not only connect with artists or connect with influencers or connect with a DJ, whatever that's playing music in the room, but you connect with other people within the room who seem to have a similar taste because we've created something called Music Match, which allows you to see how closer to the other person you are in terms of music. We've built all of that in-house, and I'm very happy to know that, with the advent of social audio that's been happening over the past maybe few months, and I see a lot of companies try to make announcement that they're building or they bought companies around that, and that trying. Anghami has built all of that in-house, and we're very happy that we're the first music service that attempting to go back to the roots of music, which is radio.
Yes, very, very impressive. And it's really interesting to see this social audio trend, whereas we were thinking that things were heading more into video and, with all the VR, etc., the full immersive experiences. And yet we see the industry trends are still a lot for audio moving forward. Going back to the roots, I would like one of the questions also that were raised is how much we know how much you are a believer in Lebanese talent, in grooming Lebanese talent, etc. And you have offered them currently an inspiring success story to look up to. But pragmatically today, what is your vision for the Lebanese ecosystem and talent, and what place can Beirut play with its strengths and weaknesses according to a pragmatic perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely, very big on Lebanese talent. I mean, I'm not sure about the percentage right now, but we have over 85% of our team is Lebanese, at least. Will always be, recruiting people from Lebanon, and we're never going to close our Lebanese office. We're going to be continuously investing in Lebanon. I mean, what inspires me is people, the talent that we have in Lebanon is raw talent. And it's talent that can still be shaped in a good way, or talent that can fade away if it's not properly shaped. So for us, what we really lack is not, I mean, excuse me for the term, it's not just creating any startup, but creating startups that can do better than us, that can scale from Beirut to the world. We want startups that innovate, and to innovate, really, most of the focus should be spent on research and development, because it's going to be very hard that three people just meet with each other and say, oh yeah, we want to do this startup, and yeah, let's go write code and build something, and it's going to be something out of this world. Yeah, I know some companies did that, Facebook did that, or Google did that, but a lot of them, while doing that, had to really write papers and build algorithms that are out of this world to enable the company that they reached. And we need to really believe that if we have talent, if we can pour all that talent together, instead of building 20 companies, create one company that tries to solve the big problem and scale it from Lebanon. Would be, when I'm able to invest more from my personal time, would be a challenge to really focus on and try to work with a group of people to solve bigger problems and just simply, doing like Anghami did. Because the whole idea is, if we prove that impossible is possible, and you can build a company from Lebanon and go all the way to the NASDAQ, and you can grow and you can build all of that with a small team from Lebanon that doesn't have a lot of investment, what can be done if you have the right talent focused on solving big problems and trying to do better than Anghami? I think it's fairly possible.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So now we'll be opening up the floor for interventions or questions. I see that Rabia, you are with us as well from MEVP. I'm not sure if you'd like to say a word, as you were also the first believers in Anghami. What's your perspective as a venture capitalist on the success story of Anghami, and how it can unlock a future pipeline also for the VCs in the region?
Thank you, Elias. But first, let me tell you that my engineering degree at AUB unlocked my future in technology and in VC. So let's start there first. And I graduated in 1987 and then went to Berkeley and then actually worked in Silicon Valley for about 10 years. Actually, the growth of MEVP mirrors exactly what Elie said. We grew with Anghami, our leading portfolio company. Anghami took our first check, which was about 10% of our first fund, which is a huge check when we met with Eddie and Elie. starting with their seed fund. And it's been a pleasure working with Eddie and Elie as really visionaries and people who took a lot of risks, but also very qualified people. It's very easy to work with winners. So working with Eddie and Elie has been a pleasure. And we're very happy, at least from MVP's perspective. Also, a Lebanese-led leading VC team in the region to have supported Eddie and Elie, even through the connecting with the SPAC, negotiating with SPAC, and working on that major leap going from being a private company to a public company on NASDAQ. So all credit to Eddie and Elie and their team.
Excellent. Thank you, Rabia. So in terms of questions, we have a question from Shadi Abi Fadel asking if you use algorithms in the business model. I'm not sure what you mean exactly. Probably
Algorithm in the business. I'm not sure. I mean, algorithms in the business model. I mean, we use algorithms in machine learning. Yes. I mean, I'm not sure about the business model algorithms.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Berke, my wording was exact
Go ahead.
enough. I'm sorry about that. أول شيء thanks يعني thanks على الآخر. Okay, هلا إنه algorithms that rate the artists themselves. Okay.
Yes, of course.
Okay. So can't an
Yeah,
artist
we use algorithms to, I mean, we have 57 million songs in Anghami, but when you open Anghami, we have to decide what to show you. When you tap on a song, you pick maybe a song. All the songs that come after that songs are also algorithms. So we have to decide what we want to play you, right? And to do that, we do a lot of analysis. We create a lot of vectors, and we do a lot of machine learning algorithms, and we do a lot of daily training systems run to actually be able to generate better models. And every day there is roughly around 15 to 20 algorithms being tested. And some of you might get a different things than others because we have to do continuous test, and the tests do not depend purely on the song that you're selecting, but on your music DNA. So as a person, as a user using Anghami, you have a music DNA that we build and iterate, daily on. Whatever music you like goes in there. Whatever music you dislike goes in there. Whatever music you skip goes in there. Whatever artist you listen to more goes in there. Whether it's in the morning, what you listen in the morning, maybe it's a bunch of Fairuz, maybe at the night it's a bunch of I don't know, U2, whatever. Though we have to understand what's your behavior, whether you're a person who would like to discover music or the person who would like to use his own library. So because if you use your own library, it doesn't matter whether we send you all the new music or not, you're not going to listen to them. What type of genre you like and all of that. So for us to be able to predict what music you're going to like or what you won't like. And the same thing, we do the same thing for artists. When the artist upload music to Anghami, he can actually promote his own music. But we can actually, when we promote it, try to promote it only to users who would actually like it, right? Because it wouldn't make sense for us to simply squeeze the song for anybody and everybody that wouldn't like. Our KPI is simply completion of a song. We want to provide you music that you would listen to or like or download. So there are plenty of algorithms to do that, and algorithms go in deeply into actually understanding the constituency of a song, whether a song has a derbaki or has a oud or has guitar or is an acoustic song. We try to understand what we like. So for instance, I get plenty of acoustic music because I like acoustic. I don't get a lot of hip hop, or I very rarely get hip hop because I can't stand much hip hop except if it's at the night. But again, the system would know what you listen to when you're running or what you listen in the car, and we try to create models that are appropriate to what you're doing. I mean, the time of the day or what everything that is learned from you, right? That model is like a live element, right? It's like a it's like a tree. It breathed, it changed, it evolved. It's not stuck. I mean, sometimes some models generate positive value, some models generate negative values. We want to kill them and make different ones. And that's an ongoing work. I mean, our machine learning team has built everything in-house, which is, again, quite the feat, because it's not obvious to do all of that, and it's not obvious to do all of that and to build it in-house when you don't necessarily have learned the stuff at school or university or anywhere. I mean, because those are very niche, recommending music and understanding all of those details that I just mentioned will require a lot of iteration. And as I said earlier, a lot of learning, failing, building, succeeding. So that particular cycle can apply to anything, but we learn by building. We don't, build by learning. We learn by building. That's it. And that inspires us to be open to failing sometimes. So sometimes we get, kudos from users. Sometimes we get like, oh my God, what did you give me? And it becomes especially hard because, we're in the region whereby people might want some George Wassouf, but then would just immediately jump after those George Wassouf to some, Drake music. And that is real. That is real. And we need to understand all of that. We need to understand that, that's the mindset of people over here. And, maybe in Lebanon, but in Saudi, someone might be on a Rashid al-Majid song, and then after that, move into The Weeknd. That's not an obvious situation, and we need to understand all of that.
So we're having lots of questions. We'll just start with the one of the iPark startups. So we have Wael that's asking, you always mention that being local is a main advantage against the Deezers and the Spotifys of the world. But how does that translate into product features beyond partnerships with local telcos? What are some examples of that?
Yeah, there's a lot. So clearly, the reference to the telco that he just mentioned is one of the biggest ones, and that's a very one that is very, very hard to copy. Right? It's very easy to make a NAP right to left. It's what's not easy is to actually build partnerships with 37 telcos. So it's not easy to discount that particular factor. But then again, let me look at the right to left thing. Most music apps, other than Anghami, if you actually start to listen to some Arabic music, let's take Fairuz. Most of the Fairuz is actually written in Latin. So even if I actually pick that particular simple example, most of the Arabic music that everybody has is in Latin. Whereby in Anghami, you can search for music in Latin, you can search for music in Arabic if you write it, and you can search for music a la Saeed Ael if you write it with the, Arabized words. You still find the music. Why? Because this is how people in the region listen to the music. And let's take another example. If you open the music services, other music services, you might actually get an algorithmic mixtape which mixes between Arabic music and international music. You can see that on all the competing services. And you can see also on the same service, a recommendation to listen to a Haifa song next to a Bebe Rexha song. I mean, because for them, those are music. In Anghami, we totally realize that people switch moods, switch context between Arabic and international. So you can actually switch that yourself. Those might be small things, but are very different. But on the other hand, one very important thing that we did and we differentiate ourselves with was the social element. One thing that's clear, we realized that the region is very social. So what Anghami started building like since 2017 was incorporating people within music, because we believe that it's not just about music. People are, it's as if the Walkman did not evolve. You put your Walkman, you put your cassette and you press play, and that's it. You sit in the in the corner of the room. That's how music services expect people to behave, as if you might be social on Instagram or on Snapchat or on TikTok or in whatever, Facebook, Twitter, everything. But when you open your music app, there are no people. You don't want to talk to people. You don't want to connect with people. You don't want to understand what those people listen to or get inspired with other people's music and all of that. So that's what we've done, because we realize that people in the region are social, like social, want to connect with other people. And we built, Anghami as a very social app that's very different from other apps, whether it's from chatting, whereby you can send music to others, whether from icebreakers. So if you actually connect to anyone in Anghami and you search for any person, or you find a person and you try to chat with him, Anghami gives you an icebreaker. So it will tell you that, that person probably loves that song or that artist if you want to send it to him. So it already gives you some insights. It actually tells you how close to that person, or how you're not close to that person. One thing that we've always see in Anghami, people, following other people to see what music that they listen to understand whether they're in love or they're not in love, to know he can approach that girl or not. So that is real stuff, right? So that is real social stuff that for us makes a lot of sense. And that is part of what localization means. But localization is the sum of many things that I mentioned. But it's actually understanding the market, right? Understanding how you deal with people in the market, how you deal with users in the market, with artists in the market. So when you see other music services that are supposedly spent tens of millions of dollars in billboards across the region, but are barely have some share of market in the region, and fading away, you have to ask yourself whether they understand what localization is. So it's an art that is complicated. A lot of it has to happen with business, with partnership. But again, the product is very different.
Very interesting. So it's like turning into a dating app in a way. Like you could.
It's the same thing as if I told you, Instagram is a dating app, right? Or Twitter is a dating app. It's, I follow Twitter. I follow people on Twitter because I learn from them. I read from them and I give my opinion. Sometimes I might not create a lot of content sometimes, but when I do it properly. But in Anghami, I follow a lot of people because, they allow me to discover music that I wouldn't have discovered without connecting with them. I'm interested to, as if anybody, want to understand or follow stuff, he generally follow people on Instagram to I don't know, to see what they cook or what they wear or whatever. And people follow other people on Anghami because they want to get inspired from their music, because they simply love their music, or because they want to meet them. I mean, it's fine, it's just as fine. We're not a dating app, but we're connecting people to music. If it gets to connect people to people, I mean, that's great. Why not?
Of course. We have a question from Serge Nasser, who is a startup in ID stage in the iPark. Serge?
Hello, Elie. First of all, thank you so much for your talk. Honestly, it's extremely inspiring, and everything that you do is just something to look up to. We're currently in iPark, and we're working on a music startup. So it's hardware modular synthesizers. And I wanted to ask you two questions that are a bit specific, seeing that we're also kind of in the music industry, to call it. The first one would be everyone that tells every person that we talk to that we talk about our story and that we want to go into the music industry. They tell us that it's a no-go and that we're crazy. So first of all, how did you cope with the fact that the music industry is like one of the hardest ones to break into and be in? And the second one is in terms of electronic music, how do you feel is the electronic music market doing in the whole MENA region, and how do you think it's going to grow in the years to come?
So yeah, I mean, honestly, if I'm proud with whatever I've done in Anghami and what the team have done over time, but I can clearly tell you that the biggest hurdle to innovation and to growth that we faced was dealing with the music labels, because at the core they control the flow of music, and they have the raw material that we need to do all of our business. and we have to comply with their rules, regardless whether they make sense or not, to be able to grow. So doing something, doing a business with the music industry is one of the hardest things you can ever do. I can clearly attest to that. Now, from that to telling you should not do that, no. I mean, it all depends on what you're doing, what you're building, why are you building it, and whether there is the need for it, right? I see a lot of startups building stuff which is nice to have. Honestly, you should never build something that's nice to have. You should build something that people crave, people need, people have to pay for. Otherwise, just don't build it. I mean, there'll be other ideas, and eventually investors are going to feel the same thing. Users are going to be feel the same thing. We're all competing for attention, right? And we're all competing for users who will give us time on the homepage of the phone and will use us. And it's actually across categories. So, I mean, when Reed Hastings, the CEO of Netflix, was asked, what's your biggest competition? He did not tell Disney Plus. He said Fortnite. So again, be clear on what you're going to build and why are you building it, whether it makes sense. And if it's important that the music industry will want it and will work with you, then yeah, by all means do it. But there's a reason why there are very few companies like Anghami building music services across the world. Not the Middle East, the world. It's because it's very hard to deal with those people. Now on electronic music, I mean, I don't know why you're linking electronic music with Middle East. If you're building something that can grow beyond the Middle East, then might as well do that. And that will be great even. If you build a product that will be used in Europe, where electronic music is doing super great, then be it. I think there's a lot of opportunities in the Middle East for electronic music. And Saudi, for instance, which is like one of the very odd, references I'm doing right now in electronic music, has been investing a lot in electronic music. There's something called Middle Beast was done in Saudi, and they couldn't do more because of COVID, but it's starting again, and they're doing a lot on electronic music. As long as you mix, something whereby it still looks like Arab inspired on electronic, but it still feels that you're doing something different, or that is kind of localized, then yeah, do it for the Middle East. Otherwise, just go do it elsewhere. It's even better.
Excellent. There are so many comments in the chat box, and I hope, Elie, you're looking at it. There is a lot of kudos from user loving specific features, and also some feature or album request. Just as a last question, Mona Aitani, would you like to go ahead, please?
Yes, hi, Elie.
Hello,
Uh,
Mona.
Hi. So basically, we have this like perception, and I'm not sure it's correct because you've done the market research, obviously, that the youth, like especially the youngsters, like teenagers, let's call them, do not use Anghami as much as they use like the other international competitors. Like, do you have any strategy to target this age group, and how are you doing it?
I mean, in all, there are, the market is big. The market is quite big, and we have segments of users who use different music services, and it's just fine. But we're still by far bigger across all markets. So I can't particularly say that, the youth or 25 and less use, other streaming services more than Anghami. I can't particularly, confirm that. I actually doubt it, and pretty much sure at the inverse. But one segment that is clear is like, though, if you're inspired by Lebanese, Lebanon is a very weird market right now, right? I mean, I'm not sure there are a lot of users right now in Lebanon that are paying fresh dollars to an international music service. So let's be very honest about that. I kind of think that is a very, 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 very small percentage of people in Lebanon that are paying fresh dollars on an international credit card, whether be it App Store or directly credit card or anything. So those are users that might be, and there are a lot of them that are using free services from Spotify or others, and are using paid services on Anghami or are using free services on Anghami, because again, Anghami right now in Lebanon is extremely cheap to a point that does not make sense, and we're simply doing it because we don't want to pull out from Lebanon totally, even though in terms of it does not make sense. We're losing on every user that pays us every month because we accept Lebanese pounds. Because we accept payment via operators, which is again a Lebanese pound, and it just does not add up to a half a box of peanuts, not a box, half a bag of peanuts. So I'm pretty sure that the biggest percentage of users across every segment in Lebanon are on Anghami, and right now are simply for the obvious reasons. But the market is extremely big in that you'd find it very weird how some people might actually think that Anghami does not have international music and might be affected because those segment listens to more more international than Arabic. But there are quite a lot of those segments across pockets across the Arab world. We really work to make that better and invest more. But honestly, I'm not investing more in Lebanon to get anything better for that particular market. I have to be honest about it, because we love our country. I love I love that country that allows us to do and to get all of that. But spending money in Lebanon to promote Anghami and to promote the international music about Anghami, like you just said, makes absolutely no sense, because after all, we're business people. I mean, we're not an NGO, but still we have a lot of users that are paying for Anghami monthly in Lebanon, and we're very thankful for them.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you, Elie, for sharing your story and your perspective. This is very stimulating and inspiring, and hope to see you soon involved with our activities again.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. I hope you do better than us, and you do a bigger companies, and will be part of cheering you when you go to the NASDAQ. Thank you, everyone.
And we will try to fund you also, hopefully, the next SPAC. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having us.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Radia.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.